You did that. Is that when you took the samples, by the way?
No, the samples were done later when Gary and I did an examination. We removed the body from the freezer, we unwrapped it in the garage on a large table, and we did the close-up examination.
Okay, and that's when the samples were taken.
That's when we took the samples.
All right. At some point, this is the horror of it for a lot of people. The alien was in the freezer, and you came out to your garage, and that freezer was making noise, wasn't it?
Right. 3.5 days from the moment that I brought it home. I had handled the body 4 and 5 times.
Right.
I had shown it to Gary, to several people.
Right.
And put it back in the freezer. This was a, frozen piece of meat. But it was frozen in a different way. It wasn't frozen solid like a piece of pork or a steak. It wasn't like hard as rock. It was still a little bit pliable. And we took it out, we analyzed it, we did that, we took photographs, we videotaped that, took the samples, I put it back in. I went out to the freezer a couple days later because I was having a professor from my university come over to take a look at what I had.
Yes, and
I heard this noise that I thought it sounded like the compressor was going out.
On your freezer?
Because it was an older freezer, it wasn't brand new.
Right.
And it was kind of a scratching sound while it was running. I could hear the freezer running, but it just was a strange, erratic sound.
Great, yes.
And then I thought, well, okay, the compressor's running, so that's okay. And then I thought, well, maybe I've got rats in my garage, because it was an exterior garage from the house.
Right.
And I thought, well, if that's the case, I got to get them out of here, or if the compressor's going out, I better start cleaning out my freezer or my refrige in the house.
Right, of course.
So I just thought, well, I'm going to check the temperature inside the freezer.
Sure.
Because there's a thermometer.
See if it's
close
still...
to the door.
Yep.
So I popped the lid open, and this thing sat up and screamed at me. And I just lost it. I just totally lost control of myself. And I slammed the lid, and I ran in the house as fast as I could.
Oh, my God. It screamed at you.
It screamed like I've never heard a sound before, except similar to what it did when I hit it in the woods. And I'm thinking, at that moment I'm not thinking, but after I'm in the house, in a panic, I'm thinking, how can this happen? This is impossible. I know what I put in, I know what I've been examining, I know what I've taken pieces of the skin. This thing cannot be moving. But it was.
It was moving. It was moving.
And like I said, I went in the house, I called my friend Gary, who had helped me through all of this. He had seen it, he had been there. I mean, we had handled this thing. And I got a hold of him, he came over, I said, look, we have a bigger problem. And I said, it's alive. And he thought, I was losing my mind, and he thought I was pulling a joke on him. And I said, I'm not kidding you. And I took him out, and I showed it to him. And I opened the lid, and it sat up and moved and screamed again.
What kind of, may I ask what kind of scream it was, or what it sounded like to you, or?
Well, on your other show, we did play that scream. Because in later days, after that point, I actually recorded that scream on tape.
Yeah, I know.
It was just, like a banshee-type scream. In fact, the scream was so loud and so strong, it almost made me feel like it was pushing the air against my chest.
Mm-hmm.
After
I think I might have some of that.
A few hours had gone by, and I had called Gary back.
I'm trying to play some of this. Hold on just 1 second.
Calmed me down.
This is from a previous show.
Practically around the ceiling.
We may get it.
Went out to look again.
To look again. Consistent
and
story.
I figured, we went out and looked. We did the same thing. I opened the freezer so that I could know that I was not imagining this.
I'm playing this from a previous show.
And the same thing happened. And when the freezer was opened, this thing let out a scream like I have never heard before. It literally, the force of the sound made you feel like something was pushing against your chest.
The air around it as it screams actually bubbles and moves.
It felt like the air was moving.
God.
And at that time, it was just, open and closed. And later on, I felt like I had to try to document this.
Of course.
So I took my camera and I took the recorder and I turned it on and I again opened the freezer, and that's when I recorded this sound.
Would you play the sound for us once again, please?
Yes, I will. Hold on.
Okay. Here it comes. Does that sound familiar, Doctor?
Yeah, too familiar.